half-decade. Mahesh Kumar Mittal, the Director of Finance and CFO of NHPC, joins in now. Mr. Mittal, good morning. Before we come to the question of demand, there is a Deutsche Bank report which has come out today, and they say that you might have to cut your return on equity and tariffs because of cost overruns. Is that a possibility? And if yes, what could the extent of the tariff cut and the revenue impact be? Okay, we'll just try and reconnect with Mr. Mittal, but there was a CLSA note demand which we were earlier alluding to, where they said the power sector is turnaround. The October had seen a 10% growth in the demand, and that gives them, the confidence that perhaps we could see a double-digit growth in the second half of FY19, because the October demand, one, it was 10%, but secondly, it was also well spread across all the other categories of the customers. So I guess the question that we had to ask is, for October, was it purely on account of the festivities, or was that sustainable? But let's get back. We managed to reconnect with Mr. Mittal. Mr. Mittal, there was we'll come to the question on demand in just a bit, but there was a report which said that you might have to cut your return on equity as well as tariffs because of cost overruns. Is that a possibility? And if yes, what will be the extent of tariff cut and the revenue impact be?
No, as of now, hydropower is in good demand and our tariffs are very reasonable. Our average cost of tariff is around 3.40 per kWh, and the power is entirely being sold in the market on long-term PPAs, and we don't foresee any cut in the tariff of the hydropower.
All right, so you do not foresee any cut in the tariffs. Mr. Mittal, there were reports that there could be a big merger in the power sector. Consolidation is underway. There could be a merger with NHPC, NTPC and SJVN. Any possibility of that, and any timeline to that possibility?
No, we don't have any such information. If something is there within the government, we are not aware. But so far as NHPC is concerned, we don't have any information.
Okay. Coming back to the point about power demand, 10% in the month of October, is it fair to expect double-digit demand in power for the second half of the year? What are you penciling in?
No, we are in the hydropower sector, so our power generation is very steady. Okay. And we have a growth of more than 9% in the second quarter. And we see a similar growth to continue. But for power sector as a whole, I am not the right person to answer.
All right. So, you're the Director of Finance of the company, and I'm just taking a look at a couple of financial decisions that you all took very recently. There was a buyback that you announced to the tune of about 600 crore rupees. Looking at your balance sheet, you have a debt of close to 16,000 crore rupees. Do you think a buyback at this point was warranted and not perhaps repaying some part of the debt?
You see, we have a debt of more than 16,000 crore, and our debt equity ratio is 0.6:1. Mm-hmm. So our company is highly under-leveraged, and because we have a cash surplus, and within the government guidelines, if we have a certain amount of cash surplus, then we are supposed to do the buyback. So because our equity on the higher side, so we are going for the buyback.
Okay, if you can also update us on the Subansiri project which was stranded. Yeah,
the Subansiri project was in litigation before the NGT since 2013, and a stay was granted in 2015. In October 2017, the stay was vacated and order was issued that a 3-member committee, expert committee, will be constituted to recommend to the government about the feasibility and viability of the project, and the committee has already started working on that. In the meanwhile, the agitation group took a stay from the NGT about the constitution of the committee, and that stay has been vacated on 19th of November 18, and that committee will give its report, and we hope that the construction activities should start by February-March, once the MOEF clears the project from all angles.
Right. Mr. Mittal, one of the points that CLSA makes with regards to the power sector is that there could be a stable regulatory regime as well. In that light, if you could throw some light on what's the update on the hydro policy?
Hydro policy, we gave our inputs long back, almost a year back or even before that, and thereafter we have not heard anything from the government. So if there is anything pending with the government, we are not aware, but from our side there is nothing as such with regard to the hydro policy.
When do you hear from the government on this? When does this come?
No, around a year back we gave our inputs to the government, and thereafter there is no, any further information to NHPC on the new hydro policy.
Okay, and what are the current receivables and the roadmap to bring it down?
We have receivables of around 2,400 crores, 2,400 crores, which is around 78 days. And we have, some realizations coming up very soon. And we hope that receivables will be within 60 days, which is the norm as per CRC.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mr. Mittal, for joining in and giving us all those details, indicating that power demand of 9% is something that would sustain, has receivables of about 2,400 crores, awaiting clarity on the hydro policy as well. And most importantly, they are not going to cut their tariffs. So in the meanwhile, for the markets, we're closer to the lower end of today's trading session. ITC is the one which has slipped to the low point of the day. What we do is slip into a short break, come back, and we talk about some gainers, the pharmaceutical space, Dr. Reddy's and Walkart, both of them buzzing in trade. More on this when we return.